Aspire to a clean career, leaving no shame for descendants. Hello everyone. Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Case Stories, Cases Judged by Bao Gong. Today, I'm going to bring you a story called The Elopement Act. It was said that the land around Xinzhong was barren, and the local customs were utterly degenerate. Relationships between men and women were chaotic, and such disorder had long become commonplace. Women had multiple lovers without the slightest sense of shame, and casual trysts between men and women were seen as nothing disgraceful. The people who lived in this land cared only about having enough food to eat and dressing in fine, elegant clothing. They never gave a second thought to their morals or whether their actions were appropriate. A local saying went, "Drink until you're drunk, eat until you're full." The most charming and flirtatious men are the wisest. Everyone calls them dashing gentlemen, and countless women fight over them. This was nothing more than praise for promiscuous men. Another popular folk tune went, "Use rouge to paint your face, style your hair with care. Dress yourself beautifully to win hearts, and only then will people admire you. Do this, and you'll have friends everywhere, and even more lovers." This, too, was an encouragement for women to focus on their looks and attract as many lovers as possible. Later, a wise and upright county magistrate arrived in the region. Seeing how deeply corrupt the local culture had become, he made up his mind to reform it and put an end to these immoral customs. However, these habits were so deeply entrenched that trying to change them was like trying to push against an immovable wall. There was a wealthy man in town named Yang Banchuan, who had 3 sons, the eldest, Meifu, the second, Shanfu, and the youngest, Yifu. All 3 brothers were reckless and unrestrained, behaving frivolously and showing no regard for proper etiquette. To the east of Yang Banchuan's home lived a man named Yu Qingtang, whose daughter-in-law, Liu Xianying, was exceptionally beautiful. However, she was always frowning, as if burdened with some secret sorrow. As it turned out, she resented the fact that her husband was too young to satisfy her desires, and this left her restless and frustrated day and night. She would often stare longingly at the moon, her eyes full of emotion, daydreaming about men beyond her home, and she made no effort to hide it. Meifu and his brothers had all noticed Liu Xianying's beauty and took turns flirting with her. Though she didn't push any of them away, it was Shanfu whom she truly adored. Yu Qingtang and his wife were well aware of their daughter-in-law's feelings. But since their son was still a child while his wife was already a grown woman, they felt powerless to stop whatever might happen. Besides, Shanfu came from a good family, and their 2 households were on good terms. If things were to blow up into a scandal, it would bring shame upon everyone involved. So, they could only grit their teeth and endure in silence. Although Shanfu had feelings for Liu Xianying, she was somewhat dissatisfied with him. Despite his wealth and good looks, Shanfu had no real talent. He lacked grace and finesse, and was completely incompetent when it came to music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. He simply could not be the ideal lover she had in mind. Though Shanfu had made great efforts in courting Liu Xianying, even going as far as flattering her excessively, Liu Xianying merely went along with it on the surface. They had been secretly involved for 4 years, but in her heart, Liu Xianying had never felt true love for him. Then came one mid-autumn festival. The weather was crisp, and the moonlight bright and clear. The town had arranged for a troupe of performers from the western Zhejiang region to put on a play. As people admired the moonlight, they also enjoyed the performers' elegant songs, all while becoming immersed in the holiday spirit. That evening, Liu Xianying stood by the window on the upper floor, listening intently to the sweet, graceful voices of the performers. The music stirred her heart, and she wished she could grow wings and fly straight to them. The following night, Shanfu came to see Liu Xianying. She asked, "The scene last night was so beautiful, yet I had to enjoy it alone. Why didn't you join me in going up to enjoy the moon?" Shanfu replied, "I had planned to go with you, but when my father and brothers heard that the actors from western Zhejiang were performing at the market, the whole family went to watch. I simply couldn't leave without permission." Liu Xianying then asked, "Who was the best performer last night?" Shanfu answered, "There's a performer named Tang Ziliang. He's 22 years old, very handsome, and his talents are outstanding. I've heard he comes from an official family, and he's a scholar as well. He's not really a professional performer, he's just here for the love of it." When Liu Xianying heard Shanfu's words, she found herself even more enchanted by this Tang Ziliang. The next day, Liu Xianying said to her mother-in-law, "I heard that this year marks father-in-law's 60th birthday, a golden age in life. A celebration for such a milestone can't be taken lightly. Naturally, we must invite all our relatives and friends to celebrate with him. When they come, we shouldn't be negligent. We must also invite the performers to come to the house to entertain the guests, to make it truly festive." Her mother-in-law was very pleased when she heard this and said to Liu Xianying, "As the saying goes, a son's filial piety can't compare to a daughter-in-law's. How true that is." She then persuaded her husband, Yu Qingtang, saying, "In life, happiness is most important, and a 60th birthday is a significant day. Relatives and friends will certainly come to celebrate your longevity. It's rare that the Zhejiang troupe is performing here, so why not invite them to perform at home and add some excitement to the celebration?" At first, Yu Qingtang disagreed, but after his wife's repeated persuasion, he finally agreed to invite the troupe to perform for over 20 days. When the troupe arrived, Liu Xianying finally met Tang Ziliang and, as expected, found him as charming as the rumors had said. She secretly made her way to the front yard, and slyly led Tang Ziliang to the bedroom, where they spent a joyful time together. As the performances neared their end, Tang Ziliang began to wonder, the troupe would soon be leaving, and he and Xianying couldn't bear to be apart. How could they stay together long-term? Perhaps they should elope. But he didn't know what Xianying was thinking. That night, Tang Ziliang asked Liu Xianying, "The show at your house is almost over, and I can't stay much longer. Do you have any plans?" Xianying shook her head, saying, "I don't know what to do." Tang Ziliang looked at her with longing eyes, then softly said, "I have an idea. Why don't you run away with me to my house?" Xianying replied, "To leave my house, I'd have to pass through many gates. The servants would surely notice." Tang Ziliang smiled and said, "You could climb over the back wall and escape that way." When Xianying heard this, she thought it might work and agreed to the plan. They set a secret plan to run away on a certain night. By this time, the feast at Yu Qingtang's house had been going on for several days. The couple had been busy preparing for the event non-stop and were exhausted, too tired to keep an eye on their daughter-in-law. The next morning, Yu Qingtang's wife called for her daughter-in-law to get up, but after calling several times with no response, she went inside to find that Liu Xianying wasn't in bed at all. She immediately burst into tears and cried out, "My daughter-in-law must have been abducted." After thinking it over, Yu Qingtang guessed. The one who took our daughter-in-law can't be anyone but that good-for-nothing, Yang Shanfu. He's always been close to her. He must have gotten tired of sneaking around and decided to take her away. Furious at the thought, Yu Qingtang quickly wrote up a complaint and sent it to the magistrate, Bao Gong. The complaint read, accusing Yang Shanfu of disregarding the law and abducting a woman. Marriage is a sacred institution, and the law is the foundation of the country. Yet, the ruthless Yang Shanfu, relying on his family's wealth and power, has gone unchecked in his lawlessness. Not only has he claimed my daughter-in-law, Liu Xianying, as his own, but he also abducted her. The other night, he lured her away in the dead of night, eloped with her, and even stole goods from my household. My son, despite having a wife, is now as if he is wifeless. He married, yet has lost his wife. And that scoundrel, Yang Shanfu, already surrounded by numerous concubines, now dares to abduct another man's wife. This shows the depth of his wrongdoing. I hereby report this crime. Bao Gong, known for his uprightness and quick judgment, immediately began investigating the case as soon as he received Yu Qingtang's complaint. He sent his officers to arrest Yang Shanfu and bring him in for questioning. Yang Shanfu sighed deeply and said, "I'm really wronged here. While Liu Xianying and I did have affection for each other, she has been taken by someone else, and I know nothing about it. Yu Qingtang is accusing me of abducting and seducing her, but where's the evidence? How can I bear such an unjust accusation? I must appeal to clear my name." He then wrote his own defense and sent it as an appeal, stating, "This entire accusation is completely groundless, with no evidence to support it. I have no involvement in this at all. How can Yu Qingtang just blame me for something that's not even true?" In today's society, relationships between men and women are not rare. Liu Xianying, his daughter-in-law, has also been known to have had secret affairs. Now, she's suddenly been abducted, and Yu Qingtang jumps to the conclusion that it's me, even though he has no proof. There are people with ill intentions, twisting the truth, distorting facts, and framing me with false charges. I can only appeal to Bao Gong, hoping for his fair judgment. Bao Gong carefully read Yang Shanfu's appeal and pondered to himself, Yang Shanfu and Liu Xianying have been secretly involved for years. Now that she's been taken away, he can't possibly be completely uninvolved. How can he just wash his hands of it? With that, he sternly commanded, "Yang Shanfu, since you've been entangled with Liu Xianying for so many years, you must know her situation well. Now that she's gone missing, how can you claim to know nothing about it?" Yang Shanfu protested. "Liu Xianying has had affairs with many men. How can you just assume that I was the one who took her?" Bao Gong's eyes flashed with authority as he barked. "If she had many lovers, then name them." Yang Shanfu immediately listed several names, including Yang Tingzhao, Chenek Heng, Wang Huiting, Wang Bailu, Zhang Dian, and Li Jinyu. Bao Gong wasted no time and ordered his officers to round them all up for interrogation. Under questioning, these men all admitted that Liu Xianying was indeed promiscuous and had been involved with them, but each one firmly denied having anything to do with her disappearance. This infuriated Bao Gong, and he ordered them all to be tortured with the wooden press. However, no matter how much they were pressured, they all swore they had no part in the abduction. One after another, they cried out, "Liu Xianying has always been a loose and reckless woman. No one knows who she really ran off with. And yet, we're being dragged into this and subjected to torture. If we die unjustly like this, even in death, we won't rest in peace." At that moment, Yu Qingtang stepped forward with another written accusation, declaring, "It was young Shanfu who took my daughter-in-law. The others have nothing to do with this. He's just trying to muddy the waters and drag everyone down with him." Bao Gong once again questioned the accused men, but their statements remained the same. They all admitted that Liu Xianying had many lovers but insisted they couldn't falsely accuse young Shanfu of kidnapping her. All they wanted was for Bao Gong to see the truth and clear their names. After hearing their testimonies, Bao Gong realized that young Shanfu may indeed have been falsely accused. For the time being, he ordered all the suspects to be held in custody until the case could be further investigated. That night, at the second watch, Bao Gong sat alone in his study, deep in thought. Liu Xianying has vanished without a trace, but it's difficult to determine exactly who took her. However, a living person doesn't just disappear into thin air. There must be some clues. Perhaps there's something I haven't asked yet. The next morning, Bao Gong convened court again and summoned young Shanfu for further questioning. "Has anything unusual happened at Yu Qingtang's household recently?" he asked. Young Shanfu replied, "His house has been quite lively lately. Yu Qingtang hosted a grand birthday banquet and even hired a theater troupe to perform. Every evening, there were plays being staged in his front courtyard, loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear." Bao Gong pressed further. "Was the troupe well known? Do you know any of the performers?" Young Shanfu answered, "Yes, they were quite famous. One performer in particular, Tang Ziliang, stood out as the most talented and handsome. I once mentioned him to Liu Xianying. But he isn't a professional actor. He joined the troupe purely out of personal interest." Bao Gong asked, "Do you know where he's from?" "He's from Longqing in Suzhou," young Shanfu replied. With this lead, Bao Gong devised a plan. Under the pretense of hunting down bandits, he sent an official document to the prefect of Suzhou, Song Jiren, stating, "Recently, several bandits have been captured on the battlefield. One of them confessed that he had long been in league with a certain Tang Ziliang from Longqing, with whom he committed numerous crimes. He further admitted that Tang Ziliang once received a beautiful woman and a large sum of gold and silver as his share of the spoils. I request that Tang Ziliang be arrested immediately and sent to my court for questioning." Upon receiving the order, Prefect Song Jiren wasted no time. He dispatched officers to arrest Tang Ziliang and had him escorted to Bao Gong's court. The moment Tang Ziliang saw Bao Gong, he protested. "I am the son of a government official. I was raised as a scholar and a gentleman. However, I have little interest in politics or commerce, so I chose to pursue my passion for the arts and often performed with theater troupes. Recently, I was invited to perform at the birthday celebration of the wealthy Yu Qingtang, where I stayed for more than 20 days. Growing more confident, he even boasted. Yu Qingtang's daughter-in-law, Liu Xianying, fell for me and ran away with me of her own free will. She was not a stolen woman, and the entire theater troupe can testify to this. Bao Gong now had all the answers he needed. He ordered Tang Ziliang to be taken into custody and sent officers to bring in Liu Xianying for questioning. Facing the magistrate, Bao Gong demanded, "Why did you abandon your husband and run off with another man? Do you not know the meaning of loyalty and virtue?" Liu Xianying lowered her head and admitted, "I take full responsibility for my actions. It was wrong of me to leave. But my husband is too young, he could not fulfill my needs. In a moment of weakness, I lost my way and made a terrible mistake. I beg for your mercy, my lord." Bao Gong immediately summoned Yu Qingtang and his son to court. He rebuked the elder sternly. "You foolish old man! Knowing that your son was still a child, how could you marry him to such a promiscuous woman? It's no surprise that she ran away." Yu Qingtang fell to his knees, pleading, "I was already old when my youngest son was born. I feared he would have no one to care for him, so I arranged his marriage early, hoping that his wife would help manage the household. I was blinded by anger when I accused the wrong person. Please, my lord, have mercy." Bao Gong then pronounced his verdict. Liu Xianying betrayed her husband and fled, violating the principles of virtue. She shall be sold into servitude as an official maid. Tang Ziliang should never have seduced another man's wife. Yang Shanfu also acted immorally by engaging in an illicit affair with a married woman. As for Yang Tingzhao and the others who had illicit relations with Liu Xianying, they are guilty of adultery and shall be sentenced to prison as a warning to all. Yu Qingtang, for falsely accusing an innocent man, must also face punishment to serve as an example. No one dared to dispute Bao Gong's ruling, all accepted the judgment as fair and just. Finally, Bao Gong recorded the case in the official archives, ruling, "Liu Xianying, though blessed with beauty, lacked virtue and restraint. She despised her young husband and secretly harbored wicked desires, engaging in illicit affairs without regard for her reputation. She conducted herself shamelessly within her own household and eventually escalated to openly eloping, betraying her marriage. Let this case serve as a lesson. Women who indulge in reckless passion and behave like beasts shall be punished by servitude. Tang Ziliang, who harbored a runaway wife, is unworthy of the name Ziliang. Yang Shanfu, who indulged in illicit pleasures, is undeserving of the name Shanfu. Henceforth, all who commit such crimes shall face due punishment. This case shall stand as precedent, to cleanse society of debauchery and restore moral order." The story mentions a unique marriage custom in ancient China, the child bride system. This practice involved young girls being sent to live with their future husband's family from an early age. They were raised in the household until they reached a suitable age, at which point they officially became the wife, or sometimes a concubine, of the family's son. This custom was once widespread, especially in impoverished regions, and its origins were deeply tied to economic hardship. For many families struggling to make ends meet, raising children, particularly daughters, was a heavy burden. Sons were seen as the continuation of the family line, expected to carry on the ancestral name and contribute to labor and production. Daughters, on the other hand, were often viewed as outsiders since they would eventually marry into another household. Unable to afford raising a daughter, many poor families chose to give them away, trade them, or even sell them for a low price to wealthier families as child brides. Meanwhile, the receiving family saw it as a way to secure a future wife for their son without the high cost of a traditional marriage. Typically, the child bride was slightly older than her future husband so that she could take on some caregiving responsibilities while he was still young. Her fate depended entirely on the household that took her in. In more compassionate families, she might be treated almost like a daughter, given the opportunity to receive some education, and eventually be formally married to her intended husband as his legitimate wife. But in most cases, a child bride's status was far lower. She was often viewed as little more than cheap labor, expected to do strenuous household chores from a young age, subjected to strict discipline, and sometimes even mistreated. Since ancient China followed a system of monogamy with concubines, a child bride could either become the official wife of her future husband, meaning he could not take another wife later, or she might only be considered a concubine, allowing him to still marry a formal wife in the future. However, a child bride's fate was never truly in her own hands. If her betrothed died before they could marry, or if the family no longer wished to keep her, she could be sent back to her birth family, married off to another man, or even sold as a servant or a prostitute. While the child bride system did provide some practical solutions, helping poor families reduce their financial burdens and securing marriages for young men, it was, at its core, a transactional arrangement that left young girls with little say over their own lives. Their rights and well-being were often overlooked. As society advanced, and especially with the development of modern legal systems, the practice of child brides gradually disappeared. Alright. Today's case story, The Elopement Act, concludes here. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments and share with others. See you again in the next issue.